This week we're looking at the type 8. And I'm so fortunate because I'm married to a type 8. So, as I was reading this stuff and I was understanding it, I was just like, whoa. So this is why. Can you say that surprised you or finally made sense to you?
I think for me, it's just finally understanding some of the things that I kind of knew about myself, but a lot of people misunderstood about me. I feel like 8s go through life being highly misunderstood. Like people think that we're trying to be controlling, we're trying to take over, we're trying to do a lot of things that we are not. Like, we're just trying to be, we're just trying to live. Like, people take our persona and the way that we are and how intense and how passionate we are, they take that as a threat. And I can't tell you how many times in the workplace I've just had people try to stop me because they think I have some kind of motive. We know how to love, but we're not going to force anyone to love us, in areas where I feel like my full-blown personality is not accepted. 8s want to be authentically themselves. And so as a result, their circles are pretty small because it's only the people that really get to know them and accept them for who they are inside and out. Those people are forever friends, forever in their hearts, and they will take those people throughout their lives with them.
Yeah, that's the misunderstood life of an 8. You bring the energy, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about you. And there are times when I really just want to, cower away. I just want to relax. And you're like, okay, Greg, let's go. I'm like, where we going? Where we going?
Yeah. They will come full force with you. They will be your biggest cheerleader. They will be your biggest supporter. They're not someone that you actually need to worry about, I guess the one thing that I would say is I would encourage people, challenge people to go down this journey because it has made me a better person. It has made me gravitate towards the healthier 8. And not only has it helped me discover myself, but I've taken the time and the opportunity to learn about other personalities. I feel like even in our relationship, our marriage, just learning about each other and knowing why we do the things that we do.
And so I'm really proud of watching you blossom into this beautiful, healthy 8. Even though sometimes I won't say nothing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kay, for joining us on this interview as we learned more about the challenger, the leader, and the protector. You are a beautiful 8, and you will always be my number 1. I love you, baby.
That's so cool.
We can group types according to the arrows, and we can group types according to wings. So there's another grouping that is not actually represented here. Although 8 is grouped as, you see that anger? The common feelings. Whenever you see fear, shame, and anger as 3 major emotions here, it doesn't necessarily mean that other types no longer feel anger or shame if you are actually talking about anger. What is this being expressed is that there is a story behind this emotion. So each type still experiences every emotion, okay, but the story of the emotion in here is this. As far as anger is concerned, 8, 9, and 1, this is the place that it's almost by default that when they experience something that's quite frustrating, they go to this emotion, the anger.
Mercy.
9 avoids it. 1 internalize it, and 8 externalize it. Of this, you will feel more anger demonstrated with type 8.
Recap, what I'm hearing you say is then that a 8, because they externalize it, they will tend to be confrontational.
Yeah. Although they are good, healthy 8 who could be confrontational without being angry. It's a gift that they have honed eventually. But you're right. Especially if they are angry today, you will see a lot of 8. You don't have to guess in this divided nation. You don't have to guess where they stand. It's very clear. It's easy for us to see where they stand.
They vocalize.
Because they vocalize it.
Yeah.
Now, there's another, I was going back to another diagram that is not actually expressed in here, because 8 is also a family of 3, okay? 8 is a family of 3 in terms of this freedom to connect, the area of love. Remember from the very beginning, we used the first Corinthians 13, faith, hope, and love. If 3 has this great desire to connect, and yet hesitant to connect as well because of the twin sister of love, which is pain and rejection, that is something that 8 could actually share with 3. 8, they're just, because they're passionate, when they become involved, they're really very much involved, even in a relationship. But when the relationship becomes shaky and they are prone to experiencing pain, the difference between 8 and 3 is this. A 3, they would distance themselves before they would get hurt.
Yeah.
An 8, they would actually protect themselves because they have this gift of being confrontational and challenger. They would use that to create that distance. But the message actually is, okay, and this is very important. The thing that 3 and 8 would share is that their self is not lovable. It's hard for others to love themselves, because an 8 doesn't love self anyway. This is the woundedness of an 8, the freedom that a child used to have, in love with others and with self. But for an 8 was actually convinced that self is not lovable. So how to protect this unlovable self from being exposed is by challenging others, or by bullying others sometimes, by saying, by controlling others, and others that sometimes don't get idea. They felt like, okay, you're here because you're against me. But the thing is, the 8 was actually protecting themselves, because I don't want you to see how unlovable I am. So it is actually protecting oneself. So as you can see here, in the small letter here, it says weakness or vulnerability. The interpretation of 8 in their own vulnerability is, it's an exposure of how unlovely or unlovable they are. Wow. So they don't want to stay there. That the strength would compensate. They want to show power so that they can cover that thing that they dreaded.
Wow. I can see that to be true. As you were saying, 8's control, because in some ways they don't want to be rejected. They don't like that pain associated with being vulnerable, presenting themselves, and then the self that they present is not accepted by someone else. I guess you can say that 8s are also able to recognize injustices and stand to protect others and things of that nature. So in light of this, how should others who are engaged in relationships or friendships with 8s, what should they be aware of, or how should they approach their relationship with an 8?
Sure. Again, 8 are very compassionate people. In a bus, for example, if someone needs a seat, they're the first one, who could, because of the advocacy they're talking about, and their sympathy for others also strong, because that's the connection that's quite natural for an 8. But once you tell 8 to, hey, why don't you stand and give your seat to these people? That's where it stops.
Mercy. Uh-huh.
That is a sign of, okay, someone is more powerful than them, and that's just a little exposure of
Mm.
weakness that they're trying to protect, and therefore the focus now has changed from being compassionate to actually protecting oneself and saying, you can't do this to me. So they tend to go against that kind of energy, and and people feel like they're bullies, but they're not. But they can use that to bully
Mm-hmm.
others actually as a coping mechanism. They would rather create an environment where it's easier to experience distance than experiencing rejection in an intimate way. For example,
Wow.
in the midst of intimacy, and you tell an eight that you no longer love them, that is more painful than experiencing breaking apart in the context of the distance that they already created,
Mm.
because
Wow.
that's less
Wow.
painful.
Don't tell an eight what to do, huh? Because they know that. I'm laughing because I can resonate with that. Definitely, I guess you can say there is a desire to feel as though they're in control. They don't seek control. There's a desire for to at least feel as though they're in control. And so I can resonate with what you're saying there. And so then, as you're saying, those who are in relationships with eight need to be mindful of how they communicate, the language that they use, where they may feel as though you are trying to usurp control or power over them.
Sure, yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, if you are in a relationship with an eight, learn to enjoy the energy that they bring. Because again, especially if you are a person who's missing a lot of things in the moment, they will help you. Eight will help you actually appreciate things that are actually in the moment. But then they use the same energy to control or create distance. Now, the good things about eight is that it doesn't go forever, because they externalize things. Unlike a type one, because they are not actually externalizing this kind of anger, but a type one keep records of wrong many, many years later, dwell in that.
Mm.
Um,
They won't.
um,
They got receipts, Doc. They got receipts. Type
yeah,
one, keep receipts. I got you.
but an eight, if they externalize it, then the next day is just like living in the moment again, and as if nothing happened. So just give an eight a space, because they have, once they externalize it and consume all those toxic energy, if they are in a bad mood, that's okay. Just give them that space, and then once they go back to their own center, they are back in living the moment again.
Very good, solid advice for those who are in relationship with eight. And I guess also because eights also speak directly, they speak their truth, then it's also important for those who are in relationships with them to also speak directly and not to cower back, because they'll view that cowering as a sign of weakness.
That's part of the gift that they bring. And my wife is also an eight, and I'm happy that there are difficult messages, as far as I'm concerned, to convey to my kids. With her, it's just, hey, listen to me. And then she would, and that's it. Okay, I said, okay, that's good, it's covered, so.
That's awesome. So let me ask this final question. What things can an eight do to be healthy, or even be able to realize when they're unhealthy?
It's very important for eight to also understand this, their own woundedness. It's very important for each type actually to know their own woundedness. And then eight might say, I already know that. My woundedness is it's hard to love myself. So the pathway towards healing actually is how to actually develop this healthy relationship with self as far as love is concerned. And sometimes it starts with the fact that, yes, I need to be gracious to the fact that I am, I don't believe that self is lovable enough. It sounds like weird, I'm not saying you believe that. I'm saying you be gracious to yourself when you believe that, because that is a very important step in healing. so that you don't have to. Actually, 8 is also tied up with. We all have our own shame kind of experience. So you see those divisions there. It doesn't necessarily mean that shame is also a big part for 8. Every single. I think there are 3 types. Who are focused on their wounded relationship with self, the 8, the 2s, and the 5. With 8 and even with 2s, the idea of something is wrong with me, that's another definition of shame as well. I didn't make a mistake, I am the mistake, for example. Different kinds of coping. 8 doesn't want to deal with that, so 8 would actually live outside her world. So, it's good that they could externalize their anger. It's also the way they cope. It's also the way they escape. Instead of dealing with what's inside of them, they just live outside.
Ooh, wow.
Because that's easier.
That's powerful. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. The stamina that you would like to encourage yourself if you are an 8 is the stamina of living inside and learn how to, grow fibers of grace to embrace the inside of you.
Amen. Amen. And that's where the grace of God comes in, I'm sure.
Sure.
As 8s, to realize that in their weakness, this idea of being vulnerable in what they think is weakness is actually a strength. Their vulnerability is actually a strength when they embrace it.
That is actually their gift is innocence. But an innocent person is someone who is willing to be loved without thinking of insecurities. Can I be loved without being hurt? An innocent person no longer think about that. An innocent is just like enjoying the connection. No, don't get me wrong. 8s are very good in connecting outside. It's their connection inside that is wounded. So it's their relationship with that that needs to be redeemed and restored.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tio, for those nuggets. We truly appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to learning with you as we continue learning on the various personality types within the Enneagram. And so next time we'll look at number 9, the peacemaker, the next piece in the triad. And I know that those who are 9s will benefit from what we have to share. But God bless you. Thank you again for tuning in.
It's my pleasure. See you again. Thank you very much, Greg.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. Before you go, there are 10 paths to transformation for 8s from the book, The Road Back to You. Number 1, too often your intensity and lust for life runs the show. Give a friend permission to tell you when you're going overboard or exhibiting extreme behaviors. 2, to recover a piece of your natural childhood innocence, tend and befriend your inner child. 3, watch out for and avoid black and white thinking. Gray is an actual color. 4, broaden your definition of strength and courage to include vulnerability. Risk sharing your heart at deeper levels with someone in your life. 5, remember your tendency to act impulsively. It's ready, aim, fire, not fire, aim, ready. 6, you don't have a corner on the truth market. In the heat of battle, stop and ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? 7, your personality is twice as big and intense as you think it is. And what feels like passion to you often feels like intimidation to others. Offer an unqualified apology when people tell you that you ran over them. 8, don't always play the part of the rebel against appropriate authority figures. They're not all bad people. 9, when you power up and get angry, stop and ask yourself whether you're trying to hide or deny a vulnerable feeling. What feeling is it? And finally, 10, don't judge yourself or others as weak for sharing tender feelings. It takes courage to drop your guard and expose your inner child.